Some people may argue, yeah, but the world isn't perfect. The world doesn't treat you like this. Rather have a toughen up and just do scenario. Yeah, but that isn't really with grace. I feel that as we build up our children, as they grow in self-confidence, then they are able to handle the knocks. So that's really about your approach to how you homeschool with grace. And I've spoken at the beginning about having grace with your actual content that you have. You don't really have to force anything. It's really about encouraging learning and an interest in learning. And at this stage, with early learning, you can weave in the skills through much more child focus or child interest led approach. But the last thing I want to really mention about grace in homeschooling is grace with yourself. So, as parents, we're going to make many mistakes, and some things become easier, and as you go on, because you start achieving with your child certain milestones and certain skills, and you might start at homeschooling and they couldn't read, and after a couple of years, they're starting to read, and there's other things that they've grown in confidence, and those are lovely victories that you can have with your child. And then there's always challenges. There's challenges in they're growing older and they're going into other phases, and then with that comes other difficulties. So, to have this perfect scenario, it doesn't, I haven't really come across somebody who said, I got it right and this is perfect. Life doesn't work that way. We're always challenged in some way or other, or in some season or other. It's important that we have grace on ourselves, that we don't beat ourselves up for doing a lousy job, or for doing too much, or becoming too heavy, or not doing enough. I think if you just take each day at a time with the help of the Holy Spirit, and rely on Him. He says, He's your helper, and He is the Spirit of wisdom and of counsel and of might. Don't we need that? And to do each day with the Holy Spirit in grace. And I find that when you step out of His encouragement or His counsel and wisdom, is when you look around you and you start comparing yourself, you start comparing your children to others, you're comparing the curriculum that you're using or the resources that you're using, you're comparing your country. If you just keep on comparing, this kind of it's got a noose around your neck just becomes tighter, and you start feeling panicky and more uptight. And that isn't operating in grace. If you want to now then come the next day and try and approach your children with grace when you don't have grace on yourself. And I find that we can be examples to our children about how to have grace with yourself. Some children take things a lot to heart, and they can be very hard on themselves, especially when they are having to do something new and they want to do everything perfectly. And I believe that's part of who they are. So it's not something to to say it's necessarily a weakness. It is part of their calling, and what God has for them is to want to do things well. But with immaturity, we need to help our children through that and show them grace, and also show them where there's victories. So I hope this encourages you as you go ahead this next week to maybe have a look around and see, firstly, do you have grace with yourself? how are you feeling? And do you feel confident enough to be able to change up your curriculum or change up the resources that you're using to be able to show a bit of grace? Or do you feel like you need to just get those things done no matter what, because this is how many problems there are on this page and it has to be done. I'm not talking about having, not finishing things. There's a difference. Yeah, so, with everything, there's always this one side and the other side, and you've got this, what do you call it, like the scale that you have to juggle all the time. And so this is where it's important to be able to read your child and to approach them with grace, and also to show them grace. And it's a fine line, we've got to show grace, but we've also got things that we have to get done. So, and I honestly can't say I could do that without the Holy Spirit, because He gives you these prompts about, when to encourage and say, no, 9 out of 10 times, I think the Holy Spirit says, just leave it, or just change it. Don't keep on harping about something. And that's how I've actually come to realize how much we do need grace. We need to show grace and have grace with ourselves, and just be sensitive to the Holy Spirit, so that there's grace and freedom within our homeschool. So it's not just the one side when you're homeschooling. There's always these things that you have to balance, and that takes wisdom, and the Lord knows exactly how we should handle each situation, and He has grace with us, and He can guide us. So if you have any comments, feel free to mention them. I'd love to hear from you, what has worked for you, what has worked for your children, about where you found grace. Maybe you are struggling with something, and in an area where you need more grace, feel free to comment, and I'll see where I can give any insight, or perhaps others can. So until our next time, thank you for watching. Bye-bye.